Welcome back to another segment on why are we so different. Thanks for joining me. This is a part of our Family Matters program, and what we're looking at is personality types. Why, are we so different? Why do we do things the way we do? And so I hope you've been able to join us over the last few videos talking about these different personality types. And we've defined 4 different personality types: the analyst, the supporter, the promoter, and the controller, who make up different balances of these 8 different characteristics, whether they're task-oriented or people-oriented, whether they're slower paced, not slower of mind, but slower paced versus fast-paced, and how they approach problem solving, how they manage information, how they manage change, and how they manage risk. These are the basic components of thinking about different personality types, at least in this model. And today what I want to talk about, I want to kind of round out some of the information, general information behind this, and then I want to talk about how the different personality types might interact and why we need everybody involved in the equation, all right? So one of the things that we want to talk about is we want to talk about natural personality type versus adaptive personality types, because the reality is that we go through life, and if we're like a bumper car at an amusement park or something, we bump into things and then we need to redirect, and that's the way life goes. So you might start out in life as being a full-bore promoter, and I've seen this with kids. Certain kids. I have a grandson who's just a big ham. He thinks the world revolves around him. He's super cute, he's very athletic, and he's just a charmer, and he knows that, and he knows that everybody else knows that. And so, he's out there and it's all about him. Well, once in a while, we've got to put him in his place, because it's not cool for him to take the show away from everybody else all the time, right? We don't want him to grow up a totally spoiled brat, selfish, with the whole world focusing on him. And so we kind of have to curb that. We have to discipline, we have to retrain him and redirect him. And so we adapt. And so as my grandson grows up, hopefully he will learn, oh, there are other people in the room who aren't just there to, for me to entertain. And he'll grow up to realize that, oh, he needs to maybe stop and think about somebody else who is sitting in the room or who is speaking. Like, his sister, is older, but they compete all the time. And so it's like, wait a minute, stop and listen to your sister, right? So we bump into guardrails and things in life, and they tell us, oh, that might be a little extreme, you might want to change that. And so as we discover life, or as life teaches us these lessons, we begin to adapt our personality to the world around us. And so if a promoter, for instance, grows up, if you've got a promoter who's growing up in a household of analysts and controllers, what is going to be their experience? Their experience is that these people are all about the task, right? So this promoter is going to get drawn up into this task orientation and feel frustrated all the time, because this person just wants to be with people. They just want to have fun. They have a hard time sitting down and doing that homework for hours and hours. Or, mom just wants to read books and dad is always working in the office. Why can't we do something, with people? And so they learn to adapt, and maybe it's an overkill. That their personality, maybe later in life they discover the joy of their people interaction, but maybe also they've learned how to do some task things that otherwise they wouldn't have had. Their core personality is a promoter, but because of their environment, they've learned how to deal with tasks. So now you have a person who's not only great with people and loves people, but also has some capacities around task orientation, right? To be able to do things, be on time, finish the job, and so on and so forth, that maybe an extreme promoter wouldn't have. So each person and each personality type will have an adaptive personality. They might have a natural personality and then an adaptive personality. And then, as we go through life, we put on these clothes or coats or whatever, or these adaptive personalities, and we learn to adjust and we learn to interact. And so when we think about marriage and we think about work environments, these dynamics become very important. And just like if you are a coach in a sports team, you want to look at who your team is, right? Or if you're in a business team, you want to look at who your team is. And as Jack Welch said, in Good to Great, that, it's not, just, it's who's on the bus that matters, not, where do they sit, because you can, if you have the right people on the bus, you can figure out who can do the job the best. So any coach, any team leader is going to want to assess his team to make sure that he's got the talent that's needed and the right people who can learn to adjust. Because if you have the right people, like you might have a promoter who is super good at talking about people, but maybe they don't have the technical skills to sell a certain product, right? Well, it's way more important to have natural people skills as a salesperson than it is to know the information, because, except maybe an extremely distracted promoter, anybody can learn the information, right? But not everybody can easily talk to people. And so you want to learn and choose the skill set necessary. And again, we go back to our beautiful analysts who are going to be the fact checkers and whatever. You want an analyst on your team if you've got details, if you've got compliance issues, if you've got government regulations that you need to be compliant with in your business. Man, you better have and want an analyst on your team, because they're the ones who are going to make sure that things are done well. Because their greatest fear in life is to be wrong. And they never want to get called on the carpet like, I thought you fact checked this thing and it didn't turn out to be right. No. They'll stay up all night long to make sure that what they're delivering is the right thing. Right. So a team approach to everything, to family and to church and to business and so on and so forth, is extremely important. And so learning these different personality types and how they work together is extremely important and valuable. It creates value in life. And that's part of what I was wanting to, help us all see, is that we are much richer because we have all these different personalities in the world. And again, it's not just these 4, but it's multifaceted, perhaps up to 64 different personalities within this. Because again, let's take a supporter. As a supporter moves, or their life experience that takes them to the center of the box, they're going to become, their ability to move a little bit faster, a little bit more task oriented, so they know that things need to get done. They can't just hang out with people and console and like be counseling all day long. And so they'll move in that direction. And so that gives them a little bit different flavor of who they are. And so rather than, being somebody who is just a counselor, maybe there's somebody who is like a team builder, because a supporter would be really good in managing team members, not necessarily the task, but team members. So they're checking in with people, they're following up, like, how are you doing? What do you need? They're a great support person in the sense of making sure that everybody's got what they need. And then the supporter, if they recognize who the other people are on the team, they'll make sure that the promoter has got, what they need to go out and promote, to sell what they need to sell. They'll make sure that the analyst is got the information that they need to process to make sure that we're fact checking, that, the engineering was done correctly, and so on and so forth. So many different applications. And then controller. Now, of course, if with a controller in the group, a supporter, might have a harder time leading, and would probably end up reporting to a controller who is above her, because a controller, again, is not necessarily going to want to give up that leadership task. But let me make an important point, and that is leadership can be done from any one of these quadrants. Any personality type can be a leader if they understand their strengths, right? This is all about learning and living and working from your strengths. So an analyst can learn how to work with people. It might not be their strength, but their strength is data management, data analysts, making sure things are done right. Systems, they are great systems people. They put things in place that work. They write policies and procedures. They understand the mechanics of things. And so a person can definitely lead from that perspective. But they have to have enough confidence and strength and a knowledge of how to work with other people, right? And so let's talk about what this would mean in relationships, marriage, for instance, okay? So what would happen if you would have 2 promoters in a marriage, right? 2 people who love parties, who love going out, who love other people, and but they come home and the dishes are stacked in the sink for 2 or 3 days at a time, maybe more. The bed's not made, the kids don't have a routine, they just go with the parents wherever they go to. Two promoters in a marriage are going to have a lot of fun, probably a lot of sex, and they're going to, be the life of any party. Everybody's going to want to be their friends, but they're going to have problems with the details of their life. It's like, did you pay that bill? I don't know. Didn't you pay that bill? Oh, wait a minute. No, I thought you paid. Now we have fights over money because we don't know who's paying the bill. And not only do we not know who paid the bill, but we actually bought something else because it looked so nice. It was on a sale. It was on sale. I had to buy it. Yeah, but you just used our electric bill money, right, to buy that thing that you just bought. And so two promoters in a family, in a marriage can have a real problem because they're both alike. And that's why, we need each other. I'm not saying that any two together would be bad. It's just you got to know what you're dealing with, right? And so, that's what a relationship of two promoters would look like, at a very high level. And you can see that, how maybe some of these other personalities would either clash or work together to bring balance. What if we had a promoter and an analyst working together? Well, that could be a great thing if they support and value each other. The analyst is going to want to make sure that things are routine, that things are done well, that we're on time, and so on and so forth. And the promoter is late and they don't care about the details. They just want to go. It's out there. Let's go to the next party. The analyst is going to get burnt out on too many parties. The analyst, typically an introvert, is just going to want to stay home. Thank you very much. And my wife and I have this kind of dynamic where I am on this side of the quadrants and she's over here. And so she would prefer to stay home and not go out so much. I prefer, a lot of times to be out with people, and I have high energy and go. And so we've had to work out that differences in our relationship, even to the point where, years ago we decided, what? She said to me, and, I said to her, she said to me, honey, why don't you go ahead and go to game night tonight with the church because, you need that social interaction. And she didn't want to go. So we kind of talked about that over some time because I didn't want to, force her to go do something she didn't want to do, but I was also feeling like the need for more social interaction in my life. So she understood that or came to understand that, and I came to understand that she just needed some downtime. For her, she needed that time alone to be able to, do her own thing, read a book that she didn't get time, to read during the day. And so we have to appreciate one another's differences. But, an analyst can be a great support to a promoter by helping to bring up some of the details and to manage those things so the promoter can be, that person who's lively and fun and so on and so forth. But a big part of the dynamic is not, becoming resentful or bothered by the other person, but learning that those are differences that can really complement each other and balance each other out, because the promoter is going to bring life to the analyst by bringing in the exciting things, by wanting to go out and do things that are fun. Otherwise, the analyst is just going to stay home and, work on their books or be a couch potato and so on and so forth in their routine. The promoter is going to blow up that routine and like I say, bring life to the analyst. But the analyst is also going to bring stability and, fulfillment or fulfilling of details to the promoter so we can see how they can balance each other out. Now let's talk about a supporter and controller relationship. This might be, something that we see as a little more ideal because the controller is, comfortable leading and the supporter is actually comfortable deferring to that. And so in many ways it is an ideal situation, but there's some dangers in that too, and that is that the supporter can easily be overlooked or taken for granted, right? Because they're always in a deferring attitude. The controller might just, take them for granted and not really give them the credit that's due or the attention that's due. And the supporter could eventually, maybe have some resentment because they're not being acknowledged, and it's always the other person's way of the way that it's getting done. And so, whereas the supporter is the ideal person for the controller, and in many ways the controller, brings life to the supporter by, being that person that goes out and conquers the world and all that kind of stuff. And that supporter loves that, but they don't want to get left behind. They don't want to be nothing. They don't want to, fade into the distance, into the, wallpaper or something like that, and not actually be recognized. And so that's a very important part of that relationship. And then if we look at other relationships, again, controller promoter, we look at that kind of relationship. If we have that team going on, what's going to be the dynamic of that team? Well, they are going to be on the go. They're going to be people who are getting things done. But there might be some, resistance or some, negative thoughts, because the controller is going to be perhaps looking at the promoter as somebody who doesn't, clean up their messes, somebody who doesn't follow through, maybe somebody who's not always on time. And those are the things that tend to be more important to the controller. And so again, we have to watch out where resentment and things don't creep in because of these differences. But, this can be a very powerful team in terms of some people who, are out there, they're public facing, they don't mind being on the go, they can travel, maybe they're, traveling ministry team or traveling business team, they're able to work very close together. They're both fast communicators. They're like, yeah, let's do this, and then let's do this. And they're always talking about the next thing that they get to do. And that can be great. Maybe the downside for the two of them together, not so much in their relationship between each other, but that maybe sometimes they'll move too quickly and forget to do some fact checking or do the research, and they might make mistakes by, going too fast and not taking care of the details in life. And because of the confidence, this team would be extremely confident and, like I say, out there, but maybe they need to slow down. And the promoter would help take care of, the people issues in their life, but they're not necessarily going to be sensitive to everybody to make sure that everybody's okay, right? They're not going to want to slow down. The promoter is going to want to give a hug and, pray for them, or, do something nice for them, and that'll help, but they might not have the time or the patience to slow down enough to say, oh, honey, we probably need to sit down and talk about this. And to be that counseling kind of person who will slow down enough to make sure that the people in their lives are not just thanked and appreciated verbally, but actually take some time to be with. And so I hope you can see the dynamics that are here in these relationships and how beautiful it is that God made us all so different. Again, thinking about a team and a church. I mean, oh my goodness, think about a church needing every kind of personality type to fulfill all the roles of the body, right? We all have different personality types for a reason. And even within the fivefold ministry that Paul describes in Ephesians 4, the apostle, pastor, teacher, and evangelist, right? We can see natural, that's not exclusive, so don't hear me saying this, but there's some natural kind of delineations between the personality types and those offices, right? Like an evangelist we've talked about, a promoter is a natural evangelist. Now, a promoter controller can also be an outgoing person who loves, to face the crowd, to do things, to take on the challenge. And so that can be a powerful ministry team, right? A teacher is going to be more of an analyst, right? Somebody who likes to dig in deep to the word. They do the word studies and they come up with these rich, deep meanings, and they bring out the gold for other people, right? Pastors, who do you think makes the best pastors? Supporters. And maybe a supporter who's, being able to do some teaching, a promoter that's a supporter that's also a little bit of promoter because they like to be out there, they don't mind, mingling with people. And so, we have a pastor and a supporter. And then the prophets and the apostles, oh my goodness, those are the controllers, the ones that are bold, that are out there aggressively pioneering new territories. Hey, we can't let everybody just come in and, sit in the pews. We got to get up and get out and go plant a church, or we got to do the missions over there. And the prophet that says, wait a minute, you guys are all messing up, you need to get your act together, right? This is a controller personality. So even within the fivefold ministry, we see these different personality types that are natural. Again, not exclusively. Any one of these personality types could be any one of those, because it's not by our personality type, it's by the gift of the Spirit. But understanding the personality types can help us to appreciate maybe that somebody with those offices and how they work and how they're wired, right? Now let me do one more thing for you here that might help you appreciate these personality types, because there's a whole nother way of explaining this that might be more colorful for you, and that is we can give these personality types animal characteristics, right? So maybe you've heard this. So we have the analyst being the beaver, the steady beaver, who comes and just chips away every day at the job that needs to be done, and they're the routine. They're the details. They're building the dams, and they're pretty focused, and that's who they are. The supporter we would call the golden retriever, right? What picture do we have of a golden retriever? Just a lovable, huggable dog that licks your face, that loves the kids, and so on and so forth. The family dog, the perfect family dog. Everybody loves a golden retriever, and a golden retriever loves everybody. That's just kind of the picture that we have, and so that's what we call a supporter. Promoter, we call an otter, right? Otters just love to have fun and play. So, they're frolicking out in the sunshine and the water, and life is just, happy and joyful. And so that's the picture of a promoter. And a controller, we would give them the label of a lion. They are the ones who, are fearless. They're out there conquering the world. They have a big roar, and they're afraid of very little in life. And so, they're willing to tackle it on, and other people don't want to tackle them. And so, again, just thinking about these personality types that we've talked about in terms of some animal characteristics, it might help just to think through that and to think through who you are. But folks, I hope that this has been good for you. I hope that you can appreciate it and apply it to your relationship. Think about this in the context of your family, of your marriage, of your church, of your business and work. And if you can learn how to understand and appreciate these differences further, you will enhance your life greatly. You will come to appreciate each other so much more. You'll understand your partners in life in a new and different way, and accept who they are, who God has given you in your life circle to balance you out, to make you richer, and so on and so forth. And folks, just as a little commercial break maybe right here, I just want to offer that if any of you are interested in a more in-depth study of this, there are assessments that can be given that can tell you who you are, or give you a reflection of who you are, and a report on how you might work in a relationship and in work and so on and so forth. And I'm a certified strengths coach, that's what this is calling, and I would be happy to provide that service for a small fee. And again, not trying to force anything, but if somebody's really interested in this, maybe it's the first time you've really heard about this, you've never taken one of these assessments before, and that would be something of interest to you, then go ahead and contact me. You can contact me through our YouTube and Facebook page, and we'll get back in touch with you and get you set up on that. So thanks for joining me. If you like what you've been seeing, you can click here and watch some other videos. And otherwise, if you like what you've been watching, click down here, subscribe, and you'll get notifications of our next video. So thanks for joining us, and until next time, we'll see you later.